how should I introduce this video? Maybe I should introduce it with a question. Like, how should I introduce this video? Because I honestly have no idea. Anyways, welcome back to another YouTube video. I just want to talk about the Flite Test P51 Mustang that I recently built. Honestly, build this plane. This plane is amazing. Like, I've been putting this one off for a really long time. Anyways, I'm kind of dragging on, but the point is, this is an amazing airplane. And I'm super happy with how it flies, how it looks, and just the build experience overall. As far as the build goes, it went together pretty well. There was one section up near the front where a piece didn't quite seem to fit. I don't know, maybe I cut it out wrong, but be aware, just be careful, make sure everything fits before you try and glue it on like I did, because now I got wrinkles on it. That aside, everything else fit really well. I will say I did change the locations of the servos. With most of their Master Series planes, Flite Test has been running their entire push rod from the tail all the way up to the front of the plane. And for me, that's like a ridiculous amount to run a push rod. So what I did is I stuck the servos in the tail of the plane a lot closer to both the elevator and the rudder. It bends less. I still use coffee stirrers like they suggest. And there's nothing wrong with the way they do it. I just changed it a little bit. And honestly, it's not going to matter in this plane the weight in the back because it's already got such a long nose that I'm putting my battery all the way back in order to balance the plane correctly, which is like the opposite problem I have with every other plane. I will say that's one of the super nice things about this plane is that the nose is so long, just like the real P51, the nose is so long that you have plenty of room to balance your airplane. Overall, like the thing flew amazing. Even on the first flight, I didn't get it up for a super long time. But even on the first flight, just the Maiden, it flew really well, track's amazing. And I have a little bit of footage, not a lot. I'll show that to you guys now, so we're gonna go straight to the field. I didn't do an intro of the field, I'm sorry. But here's the footage. Alright. Hold on one sec. Woo. Transfer the jiggles to the knees. Go ahead. Okay, fine. Go! The hatch came off. Check out that hatch. You can hear it. That was not good. Oh my goodness. Well, this is still on. I know, right? They suck.
Oh yes, a beautiful.
Oh, that's
beautiful shot.
There's that scoop. Man! Alright, yeah, so that was pretty awesome, and it really does fly amazing. I've gotten pretty good at flying airplanes. I'm not very good at aerobatics though. But this thing, it's really hard not to do something fun with it. So I took it up again after this and I did inverted flying. I've never really done inverted flying. And it wasn't exactly easy with this plane, but I don't think inverted flying ever really is easy. And I did rolls. I was getting better at rolls. I have not been very good at rolls. Again, like, aerobatics are not really my thing. I just like to fly airplanes around. Loops, knife edges. It really likes the knife edge. It kind of sticks it. The Corsair does the same thing and it's amazing. Flies like a fighter. Like, it really does fly like a fighter. So if you guys are going to fly this airplane, just be prepared for it to fly like a fighter. You can set it up so it's more docile. I have mine set up so it's pretty touchy. I have bigger rates on mine. I do that for two reasons with most of my airplanes. Number one, it's better than having not enough control. That's kind of my philosophy. And number two is I've done it with most of my planes, so I'm actually pretty used to flying on high rates and just making little adjustments. I like having the ability to do more than I would ever need to. And again, like, it just varies between the pilot. And that's one of the great things about these foam board planes is that you really can make it your own plane. You can set it up differently than what's recommended. I set it up differently than what's recommended. Is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know, you decide. I think one of the funniest parts about this plane is the scoop on the bottom. I thought it was gonna like get all torn up when it hit the ground, but it actually has been holding up really well. I've taken it out a few times now. It's funny though, because every time I land, the scoop picks up a bunch of dead grass and you like hold it straight up and it like just comes falling out. It's really funny. It is hard to flare, but not in the way you'd expect. The thing with this plane is it just doesn't want to land. It just keeps floating. Of course, that stopped once I put the GoPro on because then it got heavy enough that it was really easy to flare. But just be aware, it's a super floaty airplane. It is fast. Like, I'm running on a 4-cell with a Flite Test radial and 10x7 prop, I think, and a 35 amp ESC. And the thing, it's super fast. Going full throttle is definitely quite the experience. And the thrust ratio is insane. Doing a bench test on this, it was just pulling. It must have been pulling like 3 times its weight. However, I did make a couple changes to this airplane. One of the things that you do want to watch out for, actually, this isn't necessarily a change, but it is something to be aware of. The hatch has to be a tight fit, otherwise it is going to slide back. That's what happened on the Maiden. It slid back and it was just hanging out. Anyways, just be aware that that should be a pretty tight fit. What I did is I just added some glue in it to make it a little bit tighter. Glue is sticky too. One of the problems I found with the P51, when you take a firewall, at least a 3D printed one, if you screw it in, the screws tend to come out really easily just because it hits the prop really hard on landing. The prop sits a little lower than most planes do, so it makes sense that it hits the ground harder. A lot of that force is transferred both into those screws holding the prop and motor on, and also into the power pod itself. So one of the other issues is that the power pod was crumpling just a little bit. So I'm using bolts to replace the screws, and it seems to be working really well. But I also made this little 3D printable firewall, I guess, to replace the foam edges, or go inside the foam edges. So originally, my original idea was to have it go inside the foam edges, and that way you get all that strength, and it still is the same thing. The one problem I had with this particular one is that the battery I had did not fit in it. So I didn't get that full range of motion. If I were flying it normally, that wouldn't be a problem at all. The only reason I noticed it is because I was trying to counterweight the weight of a GoPro behind the canopy. So yeah, it would work just fine for normal flying. But I made this one instead, so I do have that full range of motion. You guys can see that the battery fits in this now. But the idea was I can take the foam padding off the sides and I can use the plastic instead. And that should be plenty strong. Like, it's stronger than the foam. So it should hold up great. I have not tried this one yet, but it should be great. That's about all I have to say about this. So you can just glue that on, and then, so tape it on too. We usually use tape to hold firewalls on. Tape it on. Be aware that honestly the weak point of this is not going to be this joint right here because it's got so much here and here to glue onto. I'd say the weak point would probably be this paper. So I would put a layer of tape on that paper where it folds just over the whole paper. That way it doesn't tear off in flight. I doubt that's going to happen anyways, but if, you know, better safe than sorry. That pretty much sums up all the changes that you might want to make. You don't have to. Again, like, this is just my airplane. Everybody's aircraft that they make is their own airplane. Those are the changes I made. I recommend you make them too. I think it just makes it a little bit better. Overall, this airplane flies amazing, it looks amazing, and the build is incredibly rewarding. Again, if you guys ever want to feel like you're flying your own fighter, I think the P51 is a great way to do that. I guess that is the end of today's video. If you guys liked it, please leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. We'll see what's the next one, because I don't know what the next one is. You'll find out. The sun's slowly setting, so the picture is going to change. You're going to have heavy shadows on this side of my face. But I should be able to... I've just been trying to get this in one shot so everything looks relatively the same. Except for the sun setting, because I'm doing this late in the day. What time is it? It's only 5:15, so it's not even that late, and the sun's already like gone. It makes me sad. I have this problem with flying too, because, you know... Oh, I set up a cool watch face. It's like a tachymeter. I'm not sure that's how you say it, but it's set it up. So it shows you the elevation. It shows you your compass heading, which I think is amazing. You can tap and it'll take me straight to my custom 8-minute flight timer. And it also shows you the wind, which is my favorite feature. Right now it's at 1 mile per hour. If it weren't Dark out. I'd love to go fly. Anyways, I think that's pretty cool. I probably won't even include that part on the video, but I think it's awesome. I got this for Christmas. It's amazing. I love this watch. There's stuff on it. This is my problem with new things, is whenever something gets on, I hate touching new things because then you get like this fingerprint on it and you're like, you want to wipe it off right away.